Welcome to Dodgers Dawgs. Casey Porter here alongside Austin Brubaker, as I am each and every Sunday. Austin, man, it has been a busy week, an exciting week for the Dodgers. They pick up James Paxton. That was exciting. Talked to Tom Kunis. Going to release that video tomorrow night. The scout, yes, the scout that signed James Outman. Talked to him for like 45 minutes. We also just put in the can and getting ready to edit our top 30 prospects list, 11 through 20. So, man, there is content going all over the place on Dodgers Daily, plus our show tonight. So lots going on.
Lots going on for the Dodgers. They picked up James Paxton. We'll talk about that signing, what he's able to contribute, the implications of that. There's a lot to be excited about. I know you talked to Durian Olinger, who's a pitching coach in the Dodgers organization. But most excitingly, we have a show tonight, and we get to interact with the best fans, the best baseball fans out there. The Dodgers Daily community is just phenomenal. We are so appreciative of you guys and very excited to hear your thoughts and be able to interact as a Dodgers Daily community. Tonight, on Wednesday, January 24th, is a very good day to be a Dodgers fan. The Dodgers have Shohei Ohtani. They have a very good chance to make incredible damage and hopefully win a World Series this next season. And any day is a good day to be a Dodgers fan, and we're excited to celebrate that with our Dodgers Daily community.
Good evening, Michael. We already have a good lobby logging in right now. Michael Caputo, Dodgers are more than set for this season. Yeah, I would say, okay, I think they have at least one more move, and I think that is to sign Clayton Kershaw onto the roster. Then they will 60-day IL him. Then at that point, I think they'll also sign Ryan Brazier. So I think those are your two guys that you have left as far as the moves the Dodgers will make. That's the way I see it. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think even with the James Paxton signing, and I'm sure, and I went to hear everybody in the comments section, what are your thoughts on the James Paxton signing? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you think it means for both James Paxton, for the Dodgers rotation, as well as some of the younger guys? We talked a lot about that on the hot take. We can dive in a little bit more into that tonight. I don't believe the signing of James Paxton impacts the Dodgers in their potential pursuit for Clayton Kershaw. I think with Clayton Kershaw, he's going to be a pitcher who comes back later in the season. I don't think you anticipate him coming back until maybe August, September timeframe for the Dodgers, and try to utilize his health for the postseason run. He's a guy who has given so much to this organization, has meant so much. You don't want to see him end his career, end his Dodgers career the way that it did. I think the Dodgers are going to look heavily into Clayton Kershaw, and if he wants to come back to the Dodgers, he will be a Los Angeles Dodger. That could be until spring training, pitchers and catchers report, when they're able to move guys to the 60-day injured list. They're able to move Gonsolin, Dustin May. They might move Clayton Kershaw. They will move, if they sign Clayton Kershaw, to the 60-day injured list as well. And then he can further add depth to the pitching rotation that the Dodgers have, which signing a guy like James Paxton means that the Dodgers are trying to address the pitching depth that they have to make sure the failures of past years, particularly last season, do not happen again for the Dodgers. So Clayton Kershaw, I anticipate him to be a Dodger relatively soon, within the next couple of weeks, because we're getting very close to when pitchers and catchers report. February 9th for the Dodgers.
Yeah, we have a wonderful crowd already logging in. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, one of our wonderful Dodgers dailies. Love talking baseball with all of y'all. Dodgers baseball. Class A would be great. I don't think the Dodgers are going to go that big for a closer. We'll see, though. I think they have so many in-house candidates. And, by the way, I think another thing that this James Paxton thing could do when you get Clayton Kershaw back, you're not going to need 5 starters in the playoffs, right? There's going to be series where you only need 3. I mean, so really maybe even Bobby Miller might not pitch. I think that the furthest you're going to have to get down into your depth would be Bobby Miller, Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, right? And then Walker Buehler. Mm-hmm. That's going to be your first 3, and then I think Bobby Miller would be your 4th starter. So you're not going to need a 5th starter in the playoffs. So what I think James Paxton can do for this Dodgers team. What is one of the big things that we have been saying lately that the Dodgers need? A left-handed reliever that can throw gas, right? That can throw big innings. Well, if James Paxton is a guy that pitches like he did at the beginning of 2023 last year for the Dodgers this year, which is likely because he has the type of pitch mix that the Dodgers work with the best, the high-riding four-seam that averages around 26, the slider, all of those things. He is the exact type of profile the Dodgers love. If he can get to the way he was at the beginning of 2023, like I think he will, man, who better to put in high-leverage bullpen situations as your lefty than him, especially after he spent an entire season in the Dodgers uniform, proving to you that he is that dude, that he is a dude in 2024. That's probably one of the most exciting aspects of this, is that I think you could say that maybe you killed two birds with one stone because you got a left-handed starter for the regular season. Then also you got a left-handed high leverage reliever for the postseason. Am I too outside the box there?
I don't think you're too outside of the blocks. This is assuming, again, that the Dodgers, with all of these pitchers, they're going to stay healthy through the course of the season, which I don't think is a fair assumption to make, given past history of not just the Dodgers, but with all organization. Pitchers do break down. They do get injuries. James Paxton is no stranger to dealing with injury concerns. He's dealt with a long history of that. But having said that, with the upside that James Paxton has, you can utilize him in several different roles. You can utilize him as more than an innings eater. He has the upside to be a good, solid back of the rotation arm that's not just there to eat innings, but he can have really good.
He has the ability to be the top of a rotation arm. This dude has lightning bolt stuff. It's a matter of him being on top of his game and being healthy. But when he is, he has top of the rotation type of stuff.
Yes, and I think that is what the Dodgers are hoping to lean into, is that top of the rotation potential that James Paxton has. He's signed to just a one-year deal, so there's a limited amount of risk that James Paxton provides long-term in the future for the Dodgers. So even if he does deal with a lot of injury concerns, you don't have him on a massive contract. You just have him for this upcoming season. And then if everything goes right, you could utilize him in a bullpen type role for the Dodgers, if that's the role that best suits him and he's pitching well, and you can just be creative. It allows the Dodgers to be creative in the way that they utilize their pitching arms in the postseason to put the best arms out there. James Paxton, he throws heat. He's got a lot of good pitch mix that the Dodgers can be able to utilize, and they put him into the Mark Pryor pitching lab and really help him develop. I think he is the type of arm that they can best utilize and best help him reach his potential. It's all going to be about health with him. It's going to be about health with Glasnow. It's going to be about Yamamoto making the adjustments, health with Walker Buehler, Bobby Miller making the appropriate sophomore adjustments as well. There's a lot of potential, a lot of growth that these Dodgers pitchers can have. There's still some question marks for these Dodgers pitchers, but the upside that they have, and that's not even mentioning Emmett Sheehan or any of the young guys, which I'm sure we'll talk about that aspect as well. The upside for the Dodgers rotation is as high as any rotation in Major League Baseball. And if they're able to hit on that with the lineup that the Dodgers have, they are going to be almost unstoppable in the playoffs. They have that type of upside. James Paxton provides that upside.
Daniel Berry Sports Highlights says Clase would be great. Yes, obviously a closer, and the Dodgers dynasty would be complete at that point. TN brings up a nice point here, and hey, we love the back and forth. We love it when we don't always agree. I love being around people that don't think like I do so they can fill in my gaps. Austin, you do it as well as anybody I've ever been around as far as, you know, just seeing where my gaps are at and filling them in and giving a opposite point of view that by the time you're talking, I'm like, man, that makes sense, right? I love those kind of conversations. So I love it when we get it, and I say it every single time, the community here at Dodgers Daily, also at 2080, sites like that don't throw out clickbait. We're talking about real baseball stuff. We don't talk about it unless it has substance. So we get into real conversations, and when you get into a real conversation, you have several different viewpoints, right? And it's just absolutely awesome. So TN says, I might be in the minority, but I do not want Kershaw on the Dodgers next year unless he does not pitch in the playoffs. And hey, that's justified. And I'll say that for this reason. Clayton Kershaw did not pitch well in the postseason last year. He is getting older. He is injured, so there's a lot of variability to that. This is a Dodgers team that is airtight. This is a Dodgers team that is in win-now mode. And this is also a Dodgers team, I will say this out loud. You can disagree with me, but this is a Dodgers team that, in my opinion, have a lot of pitchers on the roster, both starters and relievers, that are more talented and better options than Clayton Kershaw at this point. Is lightning going to strike me down now?
No, I don't think you're completely wrong with that point. Clayton Kershaw has had a
before you go on, by the way, that's not an
Yeah.
insult to Clayton Kershaw. That is a compliment to the talent that the Dodgers have assembled. Now, go. I'm sorry. I wanted to get that in there.
No, you're totally fine. I think that speaks to a couple of different aspects. One, we've known about the struggles that Clayton Kershaw has had at times during the postseason. It's hard not to forget what happened in 2023 against the Diamondbacks. That is just an image that's going to burn in the minds of Dodgers fans, and it sucks. You can't, if you're the Dodgers, and with your goal of winning the World Series in 2024, you can't automatically award postseason spots to players because of what they've done in the past,
because of nostalgia.
You like this player. Because of nostalgia. You can't have nostalgia blind you from being able to take the steps necessary to win a World Series.
He has to be the best option. It can't just be because his name's Clayton Kershaw. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, if Clayton Kershaw is one of the best 13 pitchers for the Dodgers going up to the postseason that are healthy, of course Clayton Kershaw should be on the postseason roster.
If he's the best option you have to throw out there, throw him out there. If he's not, put the other guy in. Put the best option out there, regardless of what their name is.
Which I would not doubt if Clayton Kershaw is one of the best 13 available pitchers going into the postseason. You're going to be dealing with injuries. It's going to be a question as far as how Clayton Kershaw comes back. We know he has a Hall of Fame career. You can't speak enough about how the success that Clayton Kershaw has had.
And we want him to be a Dodger. We all want him to come back and be a Dodger when we think he's going to.
Yes, absolutely. And I think there is going to be a spot, there is going to be a role if he wants to come back. The question is, can they justify, if he is not one of the best 13 pitchers on the roster, to put him on the postseason roster? I think that's going to depend on how he comes back. And I think this is a bridge that we'll cross when we get there. I think you still need Clayton Kershaw because of his talent, because of his history that should indicate that he's going to find a way to come back and be a great dominant pitcher. But given past performances, this does bring up concern. I don't think he automatically gets a postseason berth because his name is
on the roster
to be put on the roster. I don't think he gets automatically put on the postseason roster because his name is Clayton Kershaw.
Hot take of the day right there, Austin.
Yeah,
I don't see any way he didn't get put on the postseason. I don't see any way he doesn't sign with the Dodgers. Isn't on. I mean, he's going to be put on the 60-day. Isn't on the post. I don't see how he. All I'm saying is, I'll push back a little bit on that. I do think it's almost guaranteed. And I would be. I mean, what are we doing? Why isn't Clayton Kershaw on the postseason? That kind of deal. And all I'm saying is, at that point, I want to win a World Series, man. I mean, I want to win a freaking World Series, right? And so I love these guys. Nobody loves these guys more than we do. We get to talk to them. We know these guys. I don't know Clayton Kershaw per se, but having said that, we have a unique perspective from that. We have a player's perspective, right? Having said that, dadgummit, the way that this team is built, they better put the best option out there. Now, if If the organization wants to throw Clayton Kershaw out there and he gives up 17 runs and they want to look me in the eye and say, Clayton Kershaw was our best option and here's why, I got no problem with that. None whatsoever. But if they're going to put him out there because his name is Clayton Kershaw, because of nostalgia, and that's the only reason they put them out there, and they're going to leapfrog 4 or 5 options that would have been better to win that game, I'm not for that whatsoever. That's kind of what my point is.
Yeah.
And people might disagree with me because of what his name is, but that's just where I land. It's always about team first. And, hey, I love Clayton Kershaw, but I love the Dodgers, and I love winning the World Series more.
Yeah, they're not spending this amount of money to come up in second place or third or fourth place again. They have to put the best roster available. And I think that likely does include a Clayton Kershaw, assuming he comes back healthy and assuming he is pitching well. I think the Dodgers would put him on the postseason roster, but I think the Dodgers should put the best 13 pitchers out there. And I think that often does include Kershaw. It's going to depend on how he comes back and if he's able to stay healthy with that. So still a long ways to go before we have this conversation. Still a lot of pieces that have to come to fruition. We haven't even talked. Kershaw hasn't even re-signed with the Dodgers yet. This is under the assumption that he will, which I think he will. And I think this James Paxton signing does not implicate the upcoming signing that I think Clayton Kershaw is going to have with the Dodgers.
Well, Kershaw's not even going to be available. I mean, he's going to be put on the 60-day. So, I mean, it just doesn't – the Paxton thing doesn't impact it at all, in my opinion. Yeah. Michael Carrillo, hey, thank you so much for joining, Michael. Great to have you on our chat tonight. No way on Kenley. I am 1,000% on that bandwagon. The Dodgers have so many good options just in-house before you go get a Kenley Jansen. Hey, I'm very nostalgic. I'm a history teacher. I like to stand in a spot and go, you know what, 112 years ago, so-and-so and so-and-so stood on this spot, and they did this very thing, and it has massive historic. I love doing that kind of stuff. But I don't want Kenley Jansen on this team. Not that I don't like the guy. I just think the Dodgers have better options than he does, and I just don't see any reason for them to add Kenley Jansen. We talked about the only drawback to one-year deals with guys like James Paxton, J.D. Martinez, is the opportunity cost for your prospects. I would not in any way, shape, or form be on board as far as weighing what Kenley Jansen would bring versus the opportunity cost for Kyle Hurt, Emmett Sheehan, River Ryan, Nick Frasso, who has 7-foot plus extension with that crossfire he has, Landon Knack. That opportunity cost for me I would not at all be on board with that. I'm pretty strong on that. That's okay if you disagree with me. That's just where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm not sold on getting Kenley Jansen just to bring back nostalgia. Just to fill in a closer type role, because I think that's coming from the assumption the Dodgers need some sort of closer. Let's just go ahead because Kenley Jansen probably is available from Boston. I'm not 100% sold on that. I think the bigger piece that if the Dodgers go out and get a bullpen piece, I think the biggest thing that they should be looking for is a guy who can get left-handed hitters out. And I think you look for a left-handed relief pitcher, either that is a trade for Miami or somewhere else, or even Ryan Brazier did show last season that he can get left-handed hitters out. I think you want to look for those types of pitchers to fill in this rotation, as opposed to going to get a Kenley Jansen just to get a closer. I think he's still a solid, good closer, but there's so many situations that have come up where he has fallen short, and I know the Dodgers fans are familiar with that. I think they have a lot of good, fond memories of Kenley Jansen, and I think he was a good pitcher for the time that he was very good. I just don't know I don't think he is the guy going forward for the 2024 Dodgers to be able to take them and rely on him. And as you mentioned, there will be opportunity costs with any of these additional signings. I went through each of the innings that the Dodgers pitchers currently have, and it's going to very seriously implicate some of the pitchers that are in the farm system that are 25, 26, 27. There already is a lot of opportunity cost from a signing like a James Paxton. It's very limiting some of those innings that even an Emmett Sheehan could potentially have. I think he's going to get priority innings from the limited amount of innings that the Dodgers have available. But what about some of the other guys, and how do you maximize their development? I think going out and getting even more arms is going to further limit those opportunities, which if you're the 2024 Dodgers and you want to win a World Series, perhaps that is the best move for this Dodgers team to make. But how do you maximize your roster is the question. And does Kenley Jansen help maximize the roster? And is he the best pitcher, not for previous years, but for the 2024 Dodgers? I'm not completely sold on that. And I don't want the Dodgers to keep bringing back guys just for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah, and with Kenley Jansen, my point on that, even beyond the development, you have 4 or 5 guys waiting in the buds that are all more talented than he is. Period. In a discussion, there is nobody that will even come close to making me budge on that fact. Now, they don't have the experience, but they can't get the experience unless they're on the mound, right? So that's the opportunity cost. So if you give these guys the time on the mound, you're talking about guys that in my opinion are a lot more talented than Kenley Jansen. So in my opinion, that allows you to have the best talent on the field to win a World Series this year, because you probably won't need them this year in the playoffs anyways, but then also build your depth for the future where you can actually rely on them. So I would be a no on Kenley Jansen. Nando 390, thank you for joining, Nando. Kershaw might be one of the weakest links next to Austin Barnes if he comes back. I think, although that sounds crazy, I think that is a fair statement. I think it's fair to say that. I would agree. Michael Carrillo, Paxton has very high upside for a low-rung starter. Absolutely. Paxton has big-time high upside. And again, I love these prospects. I hate it every time they go free agent instead of trade, because every time they go free agent, it blocks these prospects. It adds to the logjam. You're already talking about guys that don't have defined innings for them. And it just makes me cringe, because I'm like, man, now there's even less opportunities for these young guys that we love to have chances to pitch at the major league level. So trust me, I hate it every time they do free agency instead of trade. From that perspective, having said that, I am so sold on Paxton's upside and his fit that the opportunity cost, and we talked about this the night it happened, I wasn't sold on it. Matter of fact, I was pretty pissed about it. It's like, man, what are the Dodgers, and then after I thought about it, I was like, you know what, this is the guy we wanted at the trade deadline. And by the next morning, when I had a chance to think about it, it was like, yeah, man, this actually is, it just is what it is. This is the right move because this guy fits.
Yeah, he certainly does fit. I think he fits with the upside and potential. The Dodgers, I think, wanted to have a left-handed starting pitcher. I think this limits and probably eliminates the potential for a Jesus Luzardo type trade. I don't know if the Dodgers were willing to go all in for the prospect haul that it would take to get a Jesus Luzardo. I think it would have been smart, because I think it would have given the Dodgers the ability to give opportunities for this logjam while they still have a bunch of value.
I would have preferred that, easily preferred that.
Yes, and I would have preferred that too, as opposed to James Paxton. The Dodgers decided to go to a different route. And so now it's up to the Dodgers. They're going to have to be very strategic on how they help develop the upper level guys in the rotation, make sure that they get the development that they need so they can continue to progress, for at the very least to keep their value high for the Dodgers. They have Gavin Stone, they have Nick Frasso, they have Landon Knack, they have Michael Grove, they have Kyle Hurt, all 25 to 27-year-old, all who could be struggling to find innings at the big league level if the Dodgers don't prioritize those innings. What I don't want for the Dodgers this upcoming season is for them to be exclusively used as depth pieces that only get called up when there is an injury that occurs. and have it be an up-down train. They might go up and get a start or two, or maybe they might just go up and just appear.
Hey, Austin, we have breaking news. Roki Sasaki has reportedly withdrawn from the Japanese Professional Baseball Players Association. While participation in the union is voluntary, Sasaki is the only young player to withdraw. I have not seen, I'm on Twitter right now, I have not seen like Heyman or any of those guys. This is from an account that I don't know. I just literally typed in Roki Sasaki, and that was the first thing that I saw, and I saw it in our chat. So you might effort that a little bit harder, but that is the report we are getting. Hate to, but this news is well ahead of where I'm at. Even true, it might be trivial. Okay, so take that for what it's worth. We just got that in the chat. I typed it up. That was the first thing I saw on like I said, an account that has 13.6 thousand followers. Yakyu Cosmopolitan is what I'm looking at, and actually Mike, our international prospect guru, he actually retweeted a tweet from Yakyu Cosmopolitan. So obviously he thinks it's legit, and they are the ones on Twitter, the first ones that I saw, at least, that's saying that. And so we have a potential here, I'll put it to you that way, of some breaking news here about Roki Sasaki.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? We've talked about Roki Sasaki coming to the Dodgers hopefully during the next offseason. I honestly have no idea what these implications have for Roki Sasaki as far as his potential availability, when that availability could come. But this is a story that we're going to be following very closely because the Dodgers, I think, aggressively, very much so, want to sign and get Roki Sasaki because he has as much upside, as much talent, perhaps even more upside than Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who the Dodgers gave a 12-year, $325 million contract to. Roki Sasaki is one that we're going to be keeping an eye out for because as soon as the Dodgers are able to sign him, I think they're going to go all in their efforts to pursue Roki Sasaki. So I'm not sure exactly what this implication has as far as his potential availability. Yeah. But if he becomes available, go all out and do whatever you can to get Roki Sasaki.
Yeah, this isn't like guaranteed he's going to come out. I don't think. I think this is him telling them that he wants to, and I think this is the process of beginning that. Would that you think I'd be on the right track there, Austin?
Possibly. I honestly don't know. I'm not an expert as far as the Japanese
we need Mike to hop
league
on.
So
that's what we need.
We sure do.
Okay, let's get back to some of the chats. I wanted to get to that breaking news. Sorry to interrupt you there, but that was something that came right off the wire there, Austin.
Yeah, no, and it's good that we're trying to pay attention to the news this time. But no, kind of going back to my original point, they're going to have to make sure and be strategic on how they give out the innings to these young, very talented arms. I don't think they can keep these guys down in Oklahoma City forever and expect them to make the necessary adjustments at the big league level. I think that only comes through big league experience. So they're going to have to be strategic on how they give Gavin Stone, Michael Grove, Kyle Hurt, Landon Knack, Nick Frasso innings at the big league level, because what you don't want is for them to keep them down in Oklahoma City the next season. And then they're 26, 27, 28 years old. Their value of what they have as prospects is disintegrating really rapidly, especially because other organizations are going to look at these guys and say there's a reason why they're keeping them down at Oklahoma City, even though the Dodgers might just have too much talent to where they might not need them at the big league level. That is something that you have to keep into account. And I think the Dodgers are going to have some sort of plan to give these guys innings. I just hope that they aren't forever seen as depth and that they get their big league opportunity at some point, whether that comes through a trade, whether that comes through the Dodgers. They're going to need depth. They're going to need innings, but I don't want these guys to be forever depth and forever kept in Oklahoma City.
Yep, and we have a bunch of comments that we need to get to. We're getting a little bit behind here, so we're going to get caught up on these comments, and we have a wonderful lobby going on right now. Showtime, what's up, Casey? I want Class A, or Scott at this point. Yeah, I think we've already read that one. Kersh, okay, we've read that one. Michael says, Barnes, please retire. And that's kind of a concession to the fact that he is going to be a Dodger until his contract comes up. The best Dodgers fans can hope for is that Austin Barnes hits the baseball this year, has a good year, and is a good backup catcher. I think that's the best Dodgers fans can hope for there. Showtime LA says, I think it's low-risk Dodger magic will work wonders for Paxton. Sub 3 ERA, calling it now. Wow. I could easily see that.
Yeah, and that
sub three is pretty tough, but somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'd say that would be a huge accomplishment if they're able to get a sub 3 Paxton. That would be massive.
Nando, hey, thank you, Nando, for joining. I always love Nando's comments. They're always so wonderful. Everybody in this chat, I say it every time, man. Everybody here, which is why I try to read every comment, because we have such intelligent people with such wide-ranging opinions. It's just unbelievable for me. I just enjoy it so much. Nando, I love Kershaw, but we can't be sentimental about it. It's all about winning. 100%. Ding, ding, ding. I don't have all the fancy bells and whistles, but hey, ding, 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 ding. That is exactly right.
Yeah, no, that is exactly right. And I think that speaks to the point that Casey and I are trying to make. You can't be blinded by nostalgia. You have to keep your eyes on the prize, and that is the World Series, and doing whatever you can, putting the best roster available to get that World Series that has eluded the Dodgers over the past couple of seasons.
All right, David Razor. David, of course, the Dodgers did win in 2020, but they have not won a full season World Series since 1988, when I was 15, when that solidified my love for the Dodgers. David Razor. David, thank you so much for joining. How could anyone with all due diligence, after spending so much money, place Kershaw in any high-leverage postseason situation? What role could he fill? I could see him being a bullpen guy. I could see him being maybe a piggyback starter, an opener type situation to where you're wanting a minimum of 1 inning, and then if the matchups are right and he's throwing well, you can continue with that. So I could see the Dodgers putting him in that type of role. But again, it needs to be, who is the next best guy that we have available? Put that next best guy out on the field. Doesn't matter what the name is. Denard, thank you so much for joining. Dodgers are overflowing with starting pitchers. Are they going to trade from the depth to address other needs? Possibly a left-handed reliever and or closer. I think the James Paxton signing, instead of getting Jesus Luzardo, they wanted the profile that Luzardo gave them, a hard-throwing lefty, so they went and did it via the free agency route, so they didn't have to give up the prospects. So I think that's a clear indication that the Dodgers want their cake and they want to eat it too, meaning that they want to stockpile talent and have all of these young guns be depth.
Yeah, it's going to come to an evaluation of how many of these guys are the Dodgers going to want to keep as depth. We know there's a lot of injury. There's a lot of question marks in the starting rotation for the Dodgers. It's how many of these pitchers do you want, and how much development is it going to cost to keep them in Oklahoma City? And would it be better to use some of those guys as trade pieces, either for a big league talent, or I think you could potentially see some of these guys moved for like a Michael Busch type trade, where they're traded for guys for lower down in the farm system that don't cost 40-man roster spots, that aren't going to be in a log jam at the big league level. I think you could see maybe 1 or 2 of those guys moved for either big league talent or younger talent that could have an opportunity later in their career. I think right now the Dodgers are trying to make sure that they have enough starting pitching. There's an old saying that you can never have enough starting pitching. And as much as we try to map out innings, I think baseball usually works itself out, in which case opportunities arise. So I think these guys will have opportunities. It's about the Dodgers being able to put these guys in the best position for those opportunities. And man, it's going to come to a question on how much depth the Dodgers value, and how much, and when are they going to maximize on the gold mine that they have in this farm system? They're going to have to make a decision fairly soon.
They don't have to
provide some sort of.
They don't have to. These guys aren't free agents till they're 2027. They can just keep them as depth pieces as long as they want.
They could keep them as depth pieces for as long as they want. That is an option for the Dodgers. Is that going to be best for the development of these guys? I say no.
If it's for the best for the major league club, though, that's the decision they have to make. That would be my counter to that.
Yep, and I think you're right to that. It is about, and also with these, you also want to maximize the value that each one of these guys has. It's not just the value of these guys are good pitchers, so let's just hard as many good pitchers. It's about maximizing the types of pitchers that you have and making sure. Is it about
maximizing each individual's value, or is it about maximizing the ability for the major league team to win a World Series? Which one is more? Which one is the bigger issue there?
Yeah, I
think if you're the org, you have to look at it like we want to make the major league club the most ready to win a World Series versus max. That's a great debate.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. But will these guys, if they aren't given opportunities, be ready if they are called upon in an important role to help win the World Series if they aren't appropriately developed, if they are just held back?
But they're going to be used as pieces for depth to keep the Tyler Glasnows healthy, so the Tyler Glasnows will be available in the playoffs. They're not going to need the rookies in the playoff. The rookies are going to be used as depth pieces to give enough innings to make sure that your veterans are ready. That's how they're going to be used.
Yeah, and I think that is the role that the Dodgers envision them having. I don't think that's maximizing them as best as players. So I have question marks as far as if that's best for the Dodgers. Obviously, the Dodgers have to do everything they can to win the World Series. That has to be the focus for the Dodgers, whatever they can do. I think they can have other guys fill into those roles, to fill in innings if you want to make sure that a Tyler Glasnow is
I would agree.
Healthy.
I would rather a journeyman veteran take that depth role. I just don't think you should take your top prospects in the org and make that the role. I think that should be like the veteran type guys' roles. But it is that's what it is. We're trying to cover both sides and be fair to both sides. So,
yes. Yep.
All right, we have some great comments and a great lobby. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. We have unlimited money. Yes, that's why you can go get free agents. And there is no cap, but every time you get a free agent, there is a cost to it, and that cost is exactly the conversation we're having, which is what's called an opportunity cost. And a lot of times, opportunity cost in an organization like the Dodgers that does have a lot of money is way more expensive than actually the money that we're talking about. So that's kind of the conversation we're having. Hey, Danielle Finn, thank you so much for joining. Kersh is going to have to accept his role and earn a playoff spot. Will he accept that? I think he will, and I totally agree with you. I think when he sees that this team is very talented, and the realization of, hey, not just one, maybe a couple World Series, I think he will. Now, I think it's a matter of how diminished it becomes. He's not going to take a totally diminished role, but I think he will take at least a somewhat diminished role. Mike M., thank you so much for joining. Mike, would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And it seems to be always, when it comes down to Kershaw's past couple of seasons, either LA or Texas. I think with some of the pitchers that Texas has, they're going to be dealing with rehab, and they're going to have guys that are coming back late in the season. And so I think there's going to be a lot of competition even over there. So I think with that decision that Kershaw is going to have to make, I think he is going to look at his options. And I think the Dodgers is going to be the best for him as far as potential opportunity and for his legacy as well. I don't think he wants his lasting legacy to be the last postseason appearance that he had against Arizona. I think he would rather end on top, and that opportunity is best there for the Dodgers.
Mike M., thank you so much for joining, Mike. That's a wonderful comment, Danielle. Thank you so much. Mike M., if Boston or any other team thought Paxton would post a sub-3 RA, don't you think they would have signed him? I think the Dodgers, I totally agree with you there. What I think is the Dodgers see things in people that other orgs don't in terms of their pitching lab. And I think pitchers can come to the Dodgers, get in that lab, like they add a pitch here, they move the grip there, they move them over on the mound. There's so many resources with the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers, through an instructional setting, can actually move Montgomery into success situations that other organizations could not have envisioned for those players, like a Ryan Brazier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the Dodgers can work a lot of their magic. I'm not projecting Paxton to have a sub-3 ERA.
I could see him be 3.5. I could see that easily.
I could
3.25,
see
3.5.
that being I think that could be a very real possibility to be more closer to 3.5, maybe between 3.5 and 4, working with the Dodgers system and allowing him to continue to develop. He is working on the other side of the aging curve, so he's dealing with that. But I think the Dodgers give him as best of a chance as any organization does in maximizing the skill set that he has. And if it's as good as his stretch leading up before the All-Star break last season, that is a really good pitcher.
No doubt. G-Rob, thank you so much for joining, G-Rob. It would be smart to trade a Stone or a Grove to bolster the bullpen like a Scott or a Clase. Yeah, although I would push back a little bit on Michael Grove. I think Michael Grove has looked good as a bullpen piece. As soon as he added the cutter and then went to the bullpen, his stuff played up a little bit. He's 98. So my pushback on that would be I actually think Michael Grove is a very, very, very good major league bullpen piece. So that would be my comment to that.
Yeah, and I think with Clase is going to take a massive haul in order to get a closer bullpen relief pitcher with that much talent, with that long of control that you can have. You can have him for upwards of 5 years for Clase. That's going to take a massive haul in order to get him. I think the much more realistic outcome would be a Tanner Scott because he only has 1 year of control. Miami seems to be willing to listen to offers and potentially move pieces on that major league club.
That moves Phillips to closer.
Yeah, and I think Tanner Scott is a good high leverage lefty that the Dodgers potentially could be missing. I think that's the more likely outcome than an Emmanuel Clase trade, just because Cleveland might be looking to compete, and they also would require an absolute haul, which the Dodgers weren't willing to give up for a Jesus Luzardo at this point.
Or anybody.
Saving some of or anybody. They could be saving some of those pieces for looking for what potential needs they have during the course of the season and then moving some of those guys if they need to at the trade deadline.
People think I like these prospects. Andrew Friedman, he likes his prospects. They are like gold to him. He hates giving up his prospects. If you can't tell by the way he does business, he loves his prospects. Just go to spring training and watch where he spends most of his time. Just go to the backfields and see how many times you see Andrew Friedman. He loves his prospects. I'm just telling you, it would be way out of his character to go get a Clase like that. Like you said, he wouldn't go get Luzardo. Okay, Mike M., little humor here. Sasaki is on a plane to Toronto as we speak. We have humor in our crowd as well. And Roy says, Sasaki just had dinner with Cohen at his house. Jesus Christ. We have the best lobby, no doubt about it. And then Roy says the Yankees just presented Sasaki with a number 18 Yankee jersey. How about that? Okay. All right, Hep C. Hey, Hep C, thank you so much for joining. I always love it when Hepatitis See You Later joins. It's always just wonderful conversation. Paxton will strike out Matt Olson in relief game in Game 5 of the NLCS, 8th inning. All right. Hey, Mike, our residential catcher, our international prospect guru, we need an update on Sasaki from Mike. It may be down in the chat, and we need him to dig all into the situation going on with Roki Sasaki. We've already covered a little bit. He says, good evening all. If you're new to the live, make sure and hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and support the channel. Thank you, Mike. Max Effort, thank you so much for joining tonight. Kersh could go 7-3 after the All-Star break. Yep, John Kazi. I actually got confirmation. I've been saying, if you haven't noticed, I've been calling him John Cozy and John Kazi because I wasn't sure which one it was. And so I wanted to make sure to get it right at least half the time. And so I messaged him. I said, hey, what the hell is your last name here? I got to get this right? And he was kind enough to say, hey, it's Kazi. So it's John Kazi. So thank you for that. Daryl Jackson, I'm late. Hey, better late than never. We love having you in here, Daryl. Daryl always leaves just such intelligent comments. Love talking Dodgers baseball with Daryl. Roy Estrada Roberts needs to keep Muncy out of the 1 through 6 batting order. He belongs in 7 or 8. Lux owns the 9 spot. I could see Max Muncy in the 7 hole, but here's the problem with that. And I agree with you to an extent there, Roy. My pushback to that would be, if you're going to have him in the lineup, you might as well have him in situations to where when he does hit a home run, it's like a 3-run home run. The worst case scenario for Max Muncy, where he becomes almost not valuable at all is whenever he's hitting solo home runs, which I think if you put him in the 7 hole in front of guys that don't get on base like Mookie Betts and Ohtani are going to do, then I think he's going to hit a lot more solo home runs, which is going to mean his boomer bust is going to become more of a negative factor for the club. That would be my pushback. Am I fair?
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think Max Muncy, over the course of a large sample size, is going to still provide a lot of value offensively. You want to maximize the potential that he has. He brings a lot of power. He's going to hit for a lot of home runs. You want there to be a lot of base runners on base when he's able to hit a lot of home runs. So putting him more up in the batting order, although putting him back towards the bottom of the batting order might sound good as far as limiting some of the opportunities that he has to strike out, I don't think it's maximizing the power potential that he has.
The RBIs, he won't drive in as many runs. That's really the value Max Muncy has, is the RBIs.
Yes, and he does a great job at driving in runners, and I think putting him in positions where he can drive in runners is going to be the role, the position that Max Muncy is going to have, and I think that's going to be the best at maximizing who Max Muncy is as a player.
Denard, thank you. We have a super chat, Austin. How about that? $5 from Denard. Hey. Shouldn't the Dodgers make sure Kershaw is healthy and that he is one of the top 13 pitchers on the team before they re-sign him? Well, he's not going to be healthy before they re-sign him. The Dodgers do know that. What they would be banking on is him being healthy. They'll put him on the 60-day, which, by the way, will open up another roster spot for a River Ryan and Alec Gamboa, somebody like that, to come on up and be available to help the team if they ever need help on the 26-man. So I don't think the health was going to have any effect whatsoever on whether they sign him. Now, it'll be interesting to see how they view his health based on is he actually one of the top 13 pitchers when he actually does come back.
Yeah, I think it's a question of when he comes back, how effective is he then? You're going to have to take risks. You're going to have to take chances on these guys, signing these guys. And I don't think Clayton Kershaw is going to just sit around in free agency until he is completely healthy. I think you're going to have to sign him through the course of this offseason. I think the Dodgers are going to take that chance and take that gamble, which Clayton Kershaw is a Hall of Fame pitcher, and I think that's a gamble worth taking a chance on for a franchise icon, for a player who will end up in Cooperstown and who could very well be necessary depth to your starting rotation if you're dealing with injuries late in the season. Mm-hmm. Clayton Kershaw could come in healthy and come in clutch for this Dodgers team and be a very important piece. I don't think you can automatically give him a postseason roster spot. I think he still has to earn it like everybody else does. But I think he has as good of a chance as anybody to be able to earn those opportunities. And I think with the injury concerns on this roster, I think you need to have as many arms as possible that can come up, that can be effective, that can start postseason games. Although Kershaw didn't show up in his last postseason start, he struggled in the postseason. I think he can still start a postseason game if needed for the Dodgers. Dodgers can't pencil him in for a postseason start, but I think he can be an option if he is pitching well towards the end of the regular season.
All right, Sean. Hey, Sean, thank you so much for joining. I always love it when Sean leaves comments. Sean and I got into a wonderful conversation last night about the Paxton deal. I thoroughly enjoyed that. It's just always just fascinating conversation, and it gets me thinking, and it just brings out all of the passionate sides of me, and I just enjoy it so much. So, hey, Sean, thank you so much for joining tonight, and thank you so much for all your contributions to Dodgers Daily. You are so valuable. I can't tell you how much I appreciate everything you do for this site. AAA starting rotation will be Sheehan, Stone, Frasso, Ryan, Knack, plus whatever veteran LA signs like Nabil Chrismat. They've already signed him. In stashes for depth, why not put Hurt in the Major League bullpen, let him go 2 innings at a time? If they have room for him, I mean, you already got Joe Kelly. You're probably going to re-sign Brazier. So it'll be interesting to see if they do have room for him. It would be a shame if Kyle Hurt does not start this season at the Major League level. Norm Lee, Paxton did retain his velo last year, and he is 2 years away from his elbow surgery, so that is encouraging. Not high on the lineup, still too many swing and miss batters who get erased in the playoffs. I would push back a little bit. I think Gavin Lux is going to add a bat-to-ball guy. I think Mookie Betts can be a bat-to-ball guy. I think Shohei Ohtani added some bat-to-ball skills. Freddie Freeman's already a bat-to-ball skill guy. Will Smith is a guy that can be a bat-to-ball skill guy. So I think you're going to have at least 5 guys in your lineup, and possibly in a row, that are good hitters as far as bat-to-ball skills go and have high averages, because I think you're inserting 2 guys into your lineup that you didn't have last year with Gavin Lux and Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I think there is some swing and miss in this lineup, but I think those players that we like to focus on with Muncy, with Outman, with Teoscar Hernandez, I think we often forget that there are guys on this roster that do have very low strikeout rates. Mookie Betts, Will Smith has a fairly low one. Gavin Lux, I think, is going to have a fairly low one. Even Shohei Ohtani is able to limit some of his strikeouts, and he makes up for that, obviously, with the rest of offensive component he has. Freddie Freeman is able to limit some of the strikeouts that he has. I think there are some swing and miss concerns, but there's also a mix of good bat-to-ball skills as well. And combine that with the power this offense has, that's going to generate a lot of runs. It hasn't in the postseason the past couple of seasons. I think that is more than likely an anomaly. And I think with the roster that the Dodgers have constructed, with the different types of hitters that they have, and with the power that they have in this lineup, I think that is going to show up in the postseason in 2024. I think it's going to make a major impact for the Dodgers, as we are here live on Dodgers Dawgs, and you can see we have a very special guest joining us tonight.
We do. This is the Barn. This is our boy Barney right here, and he is ready for his daddy to take him on his night walk because he hasn't got it yet. Usually he's waiting very patiently in his bed right next to my studio in my kitchen, but he decided to come say hello to everybody. So that's Barn right there. Viv might come over and say hello here before too long. I have 2 pit bulls, and they are just absolutely awesome. Okay, well, let's get through these comments because we have a wonderful lobby and some great comments going on here. And Nando says Kershaw can go undefeated this season, and I still wouldn't want him on the October roster. That's having to do with playoff performances. Michael Carrillo says, I do love Paxton's playoff experience against the Astros. Yeah, that is a great point to make. Denard is signing Paxton a good replacement instead of trading for Luzardo. I would say Luzardo is better than Paxton. I think the full package is better, but I think what the Dodgers did is they took that profile, hard-throwing lefty, the slider, the change, all that kind of stuff. So they took that profile and they found another guy that has the same type of profile as Luzardo, and they did it in a way that they were willing to afford. They didn't want to give up the prospects. They don't mind paying the money. So I think they went for profile, the same profile Luzardo has.
Yeah, they went for the same profile without having to give up a lot of prospects in the farm system. I think Paxton is not as good or as reliable as a pitcher as Jesus Luzardo. I think Jesus Luzardo, you could have penciled in for more innings than what Paxton is. I think with Paxton, you can pencil him in for maybe about 100 innings or so. With Luzardo, you could pencil him from 150 innings with a little bit more quality, or at least a little bit more assurance of quality with Luzardo. Yeah. With Paxton, you don't have to give up the prospects, and I think there's still a lot that the Dodgers can work into, and the profile of him, I think, matches up really well with what the Dodgers want. And so with Paxton, I think the production won't be as good as Luzardo, but you still have all of your trade pieces to address other areas of need as needed, and you keep a lot of the pitching depth to make sure that you can keep these guys as healthy as you possibly can through the course of the season to make sure they're ready to go for the postseason. All
right, Norm. Yes, Lightning is poised to strike. Kershaw was still the best regular season starter last year. That is correct, Mike. Kershaw should have never pitched with a shoulder injury. Miller should have started. I agree with that. Mike says Luzardo is better than Paxton. Yeah, we just covered that, and we both agree with that. Craig, good evening, Craig. Thank you so much for joining. We have a wonderful crowd, as we always do. I believe Kershaw will be better, if not this year, but next year I do think there is a chance they do sign him to a 2-year contract. When healthy, he is great. He was, again, the Dodgers' best pitcher last year. There is no doubt about that. Roy, max effort Kershaw effectiveness is diminishing. He is coming off of surgery when he is going to get into shape to pitch. When is he going to get in shape to pitch in 2024? That's a good question. I mean, he's going to have to hit the ground running In the middle of the season, he probably will rehab a little bit. He'll do that at the minor league level. He needs to come out of the pen at best. I can't disagree with that necessarily because the Dodgers are very talented. Jack A. Powers. Hey, Jack, thank you so much for joining. You want your absolute best at the time pitching for the first game for the playoff rotation issues. That's exactly what we're saying. Put the best option out there. It doesn't matter what their name is. Whatever your best option is, throw it out there. I wish the Dodgers would have done that last year in the playoffs, but they didn't, and I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, player. Kershaw still has the stuff when he's healthy. Hopefully this shoulder surgery is successful. Shoulder surgeries are tough. I don't trust them. I trust Tommy John's because they're a lot more predictable. Shoulder surgeries are very unpredictable, so we'll see. Jack says get that first win every series. Yeah, when you're in a especially 3-game series. If you win that first one, it's really nice. Roy Kershaw lists his velo, which is critical to dominate. He's lost his velo, which is critical to dominate batters. Max effort, Roy Estrada. Yeah, they're talking back and forth. Jack says, want to honor Kershaw, ? Let's get him to 3,000 Ks and go out as a World Series winner, not put him in a position that might fail again. That is exactly right. I totally agree with that. I do like the sentiment of getting him to 3,000. I do think that's important. That is a legacy thing, but also can you do that and still put the team in the best positions to win?
Yeah, that's going to be the question. Is they have to be more focused on winning a World Series than the individual performance or individual accomplishments of Clayton Kershaw. I think it would be a bonus. It'd be amazing if Clayton Kershaw is able to get to those 3,000 strikeouts. I think that's something that the Dodgers want to see happen. They want to see that in a Dodgers uniform. Just make sure that does not impact your ability as a team to win a World Series going forward. That has to be the ultimate goal, and that has to be what every decision is made in mind with.
Yep. Craig, and I totally agree with what Craig's saying here. I love Dave Roberts. I defend him. I totally agree that if you have my biggest concern about putting Kershaw on this roster is that Dave's going to put him out there whether he's the best guy or not. He will not be able to help himself. I 100% agree with that. As much as I love Dave, I just think I do agree that he won't be able to help himself. Great point. Nando 390, the only way Kershaw sees an October playoff game is if they're up by 10 runs, and even then he'll still give up 7 runs. Unless because Dave Roberts loves Clayton Kershaw and trusts Clayton Kershaw, he puts him out there because he is Clayton Kershaw. I could easily see that happening. That's my one defense about not having Kershaw is taking that option away from Dave, forcing him to put in the best guy and not his guys. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, Sean, what wonderful comments we have going on here. Kershaw is a crafty vet who relies on control and command. Great for regular season, but that doesn't play that. You have to have the velo to play up in the postseason because the swing and miss is big. Most of us knew he shouldn't start game 1 last October. I would agree with that. Michael Caputo, I actually would have started Ryan Pepio game 1. I think he was the best pitcher on the Dodgers roster last year. And throw your best guy out there, period. Who is your best pitcher right now? Throw him out there. That's what I would have done. Michael Caputo, all Dodgers need is a closer, and that's it. You could also go get a Tanner Scott, move Evan Phillips to closer, who does a good job in that role, and you could also address it from that perspective. So I think there's different ways that you can do that, and I would agree with you there, Michael. Hep C, the problem that arises is if Kershaw re-signs and he is healthy going into October, he will be on the playoff roster 100%. I've said that earlier. Totally agree with that. And then Dave won't be able to help himself, and he'll throw him out there in front of some other guys that may be better options. That is the fear, and I think that is a legitimate fear.
Yeah, I think that is very much a legitimate fear, and that shouldn't be the decision that the Dodgers could make. We're talking about what should happen and what will happen. I think what will happen is if Clayton Kershaw is healthy and on the Dodgers, he will be on the postseason roster.
Yep.
Now, what should happen is you should throw out the best 13 pitchers, the hottest 13 pitchers, the guys that are pitching the best on the postseason roster. That I don't know if that's going to be the case for the Dodgers. It should be the case that you put your best pitchers available. And if Kershaw is one of the best pitchers available, absolutely put him on the roster. I don't know if that is going to be the case. And that is a very legitimate concern over a Clayton Kershaw signing. I think Clayton Kershaw has all the talent in the world, and I think the Dodgers will re-sign him.
Yep.
So that is a very legitimate concern that Dodgers fans can have.
Totally agree. And the conversation going on about this at Dodgers Daily tonight, this is totally elite. People are are voicing their concerns about a legend with a massive amount of respect, but with the team first. This is exactly how it should happen. You got to address these issues, because you got to say, hey, I want to win a World Series, and what helps us win a World Series? So you got to be real with it, right? But you got to be respectful, and you got to do it in a way that does pay homage to what this guy has been to the organization. This conversation has been just simply fantastic, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. This conversation is a much needed conversation, and it's done with a lot of respect for him, and it's done with a lot of respect for each other, and those are the best type of conversations.
Yeah, Michael Carrillo says fire Dave Roberts, and my response to that is, of course, I defend Dave Roberts. Obviously, I would disagree with that because I think he takes on a lot more heat than he probably deserves. I do think there are holes in his game that drive me insane, just like they do Michael. Here's what I will say to that. The great thing about this is the Dodgers have gone off the deep end. They've spent $1 billion on 2 players. If they don't win a World Series by the time his contract is up, they will move on. And it won't be because they think he's bad or he's the reason. It will just be because you can't justify jumping off the deep end like this and not winning. So the next time that his contract's up, which is, I believe, in 2 years, the beauty of it is that issue is going to get resolved. So that's kind of my comment there. So I think we can all kind of get on board with that and see how it goes. Michael Caputo, they add one more piece. Remember, they had to clear 2 more roster spots. Yeah. Roy, I am grateful for everything Kershaw did for the Dodgers. I wish him the best, but Father Time has hit him twice. Michael, they added Paxton, so that's 1, so they can add 1 more piece. El Rojas, good evening. Kersh needs to toss the knuckler. All right. Sean, you got talking to Hep C. I highly doubt Dave and Friedman will be able to look Kershaw in the eyes and say you aren't going to be a part of the playoff run. I totally 100% agree with that. That is the biggest fear, is that they just can't help themselves. And I totally agree with that. But he is forever going to be a Dodger. Alex says that's a hard pass for me. Normally, the current lineup can still be easily taken out in the playoffs, aside from Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman. No other batter worries me. Opposing players, playoff pitchers. Will Smith could get hot. Gavin Lux, I think, could get hot. I think those are 2 guys that we hope that are really good offensive players. Mike says, I don't think we need a closer by committee, and put the right pitcher in for the situation. That is a very good philosophy. Roy says no on Jansen. I agree with you on that. As we continue down with our wonderful comments here, Michael says Dodgers closer right now, it's Phillips. Yeah, I want Brazier back, says John Causey. Brazier then would move Evan Phillips to the closer. That would be a good situation. Hep C, Kershaw not being back signifies a new era. That's another point. Hey, this is a new era of Dodgers baseball. And like Doug McCain would say, we need to win a World Series. You can't really say this year because it's hard to do, but within this era, we need to win 1 or 2. So I like that idea of turning it over to a new era. And a lot of times the only way you can do that is to not have some of the remnants of the past eras. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And this is the Shohei Ohtani era of Dodgers baseball. Does the Shohei Ohtani era of Dodgers baseball include Clayton Kershaw as part of that picture, or is it best to turn the page on that era, that great era of Dodgers baseball, and try to do everything you can to maximize the Shohei Ohtani era of Dodgers baseball?
Yeah.
I think they have to do everything they can, especially over the next 2 or 3 seasons, to win at least 1 World Series championship during the prime of these players. And does Clayton Kershaw hinder some of your decisions that you're going to make going forward? That is the question that the Dodgers are going to have to ask. And are they ready to turn the page on Clayton Kershaw? I don't think they are. I still think that they are going to re-sign Kershaw. I think he's still going to have a role. Is that in the best decision and the best interest of the Dodgers and their goals for 2024 is for the fans and for the organization to decide.
Yep, no doubt. And we're having a conversation. I think most people are in agreement that we don't want Kenley Jansen back. We love everything he did for the Dodgers, but not back on this team. Hep C, Ricky Vanasco, and Kyle Hurt should be in the pen on opening day. Whew. Ding, 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 ding. 100%. Hey, Ricky Vanasco, by the way, approaching 100 miles an hour. The big curveball, this dude is dynamite. I appreciate you saying that, Hep C. And Kyle Hurt, you heard it not from me. Not from me. You heard it from his pitching coach. 280 grade pitches, okay? 280 grade pitches. When he is forcing the other team to swing the bat, just like Emmett Sheehan, he is elite, no doubt. Roy Estrada, Yankees will not get out of the East. Oh, wow. Hey, hot take of the day by Roy Estrada. Michael, they got Juan Soto and Verdugo. Those were big moves, talking about the Yankees. Normally, I refuse to bad talk Kershaw. Yeah, no, nobody bad talking Kershaw. We love Clayton Kershaw. We just, for anybody who is saying that, hey, we don't want him back or this or that, for any of that kind of narrative, it would be more on the fact that we think the Dodgers are so talented, we're not convinced that he is one of the top 13 options that the Dodgers might go to. You're talking about others being better options. Come on. Yeah, I do think as of right now that I think the Dodgers do have better options than Clayton Kershaw, and we would have to see how that would go. May not be. If Kershaw comes out and pitches great, then he won't. All I'm saying is I think you have to evaluate not based on name, based on how whoever is pitching at that time. Who is the best pitcher? Put the best pitcher out there, and don't do it based on what the player's name is. I think that's the only way you can do it. I mean, you can't play politics. That I've been a coach for 30 years. You can't play a kid because his dad's on the school board. You can't do that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I think we've done a really good job making that case, making that point about not pitching guys or not allowing playing time for guys just because of their name.
Yep.
But because
if he's
of the
best guy, put him out there. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very likely that Clayton Kershaw is one of the best guys.
I'm not saying he won't be. I'm just saying if he's not, don't put him out there.
Yeah. And it will. And the best thing about it is baseball. He hopefully will have a chance to prove himself and be able to earn a spot onto the postseason roster.
Yeah, John Quimby, that's a great comment, though. Yeah, and people are very passionate towards Clayton Kershaw as well. They very should be. So I hope I didn't make you mad there or anything like that. But that's we're just having an open and honest conversation. Everybody is giving their own feelings on it, and that's what I love about Dodgers Daily is that we all have our own opinions. We all give them. We're all very respectful about it, and then we all just have wonderful conversations. So John Quimby, love the concept of opportunity cost. Yes, that is the cost of getting free agents for an organization that invests so much in development, which they do. And in the interview that you hear that I just did with, I'm having a blank, Scout, Austin, help me out.
Yeah, Kunis.
Yeah, Tom, I'm sorry. I've been so busy today. Tom Kunis, he will talk about why the Dodgers are the best developmental system and scouting system. He goes all into that. Sean says, I hope CT3 only plays against lefties and late game defensive sub. That would be a great role for him. John Kazi, what are we going to do with all the older pitching prospects? Good question. They're going to be used as depth to try to make sure Tyler Glasnow and Yoshinobu Yamamoto and guys like that are ready for the playoffs. That's how they're going to be used. As of this point, we have so many of them. We absolutely do. Hep C says Yankees are not going to make the playoffs. Mike says we have Kelly, Trinan, Phillips, Gratterall, Ferguson, and Kyle Hurt who can take care of the 7 through 9. I totally agree. Hey, Todd Davis, thank you so much for joining tonight. Every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 o'clock Pacific. It would be great to have Kershaw back, but I'm afraid Dave Roberts might do something stupid in the playoffs. That's the concern, is that you put him in there even if he's not the best option because his name is Clayton Kershaw. No doubt. And Mike says also Michael Grove, which I mentioned earlier, has actually been very good in the pen. His stuff plays up. He added the cutter. Nando Freeman on a plane back to Dodger Stadium with Sasaki. That's funny. Okay, and we're having a conversation about the Yankees, and we're going to come down to Norm. That doesn't mean Sasaki will be posted. Yeah, that's what we mentioned earlier. Just means that he's kind of leveraging his way out. I would totally agree with that. Michael Soto and Ohtani are going to be two biggest attractions in baseball this year. Definitely, I would agree, especially considering where they play. Carlos De Castro still think it's a next year thing. Carlos, thank you so much for joining, man. Every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. I love it when you post and join these shows. It is simply fantastic. Showtime. I would compare it to a player holding out for a yeah, he's talking about Sasaki. Yankees rotation, this is from Hep C, is Cole and a bunch of bums. He doesn't think they're going to make the playoffs. David Peralta, this is from Denard, was a waste by blocking better prospects. That is the opportunity cost. That is 100% correct. So it wasn't risky in the sense that it was a one-year contract. You didn't lose flexibility in your roster, but you did block playing time for younger prospects. Is James Paxton going to do that to some of the young? Yes, there is an opportunity cost, but I think its pitch mix makes it worth it. Life Journey, thank you so much for joining. Can't he just pull a Nomo and retire from the MPP? Yeah, talking about Sasaki. Roy Soto was not a big attraction in San Diego. Judge owns New York. And as we go down the list here, Michael.
A lot of Yankee talk tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised if we're talking about the Yankees and we're on Dodgers Daily that the conversation isn't directed on when is Yorbit Vivas going to make his big league debut? When is Clayton Veter going to make his big league debut? If we're talking about the Yankees on Dodgers Dawgs, that should be where the conversation is. And I'm excited for them. And we'll see what the rest of the Yankees club does.
All right. We go to the bottom. Hep C, I think okay. Let me scroll back up here. Denard says Dodgers needed a back-of-the-rotation innings eater. Paxton has never been an innings eater. Yes. Okay, so I think part of this is the Dodgers know they have so much depth with their younger guys that they went and got guys that maybe have an injured past, banking on them not being innings eater, and that's where the innings come in play for the younger guys. I think that's actually in play right now.
Yeah, I've been on record in saying this on the show. I think even the last live that we did before this James Paxton signing, that I was not in favor of the Dodgers going out and getting an innings eater, just getting innings eater. I'd rather see those innings come to a lot of the younger guys. I think with the signing of James Paxton, we've talked about it quite a bit. There is an opportunity cost. He will limit some of the innings for these younger guys. And as much as I can complain, as much as I can just think about the development of these younger guys, I understand that James Paxton fits with what the Dodgers need. And I think the Dodgers would prefer right now to have the upside potential for him to be able to be a guy who could potentially fill into a postseason roster spot for the Dodgers. I think they need to plan for some sort of postseason roster. I think they have enough young guys that can fill in as depth that can eat innings if needed. They need to make a play for high upside during the postseason, whereas a signing like a Hungjin Ryu or trading for a Shane Bieber or signing another starting pitcher, I think they would have eat innings, but I don't think you would have trusted them during a postseason start. I think with James Paxton, if needed, and if the Dodgers are able to maximize his potential, could start a postseason game. And that is the type of pitcher that I think the Dodgers would prefer over a innings eater, just to eat innings, because I think the Dodgers have guys that they can call up to eat innings if needed. And when they do eat those innings, I think it's going to be good for their development because they're getting big league experience.
Yep. Okay, I just did that right there. So there you go. I think we're having some issues here. And I think I just fixed it. So, yeah, let's definitely keep everything respectful. We love everybody to have their own opinions. Larry says, did the Dodgers need to trade some prospects now just to make room? Nope. They're going to have plenty of room once they put guys on the 60-day IL. They will have plenty of room for both Kershaw and Ryan Brazier if that's where they want to go. Normally enough, the lefty reliever talk, the rule changes make that moot. Yeah, the lefty, the guy where they come in, the lefty gets the one lefty out and then leaves the game. That is no longer a thing. Dodgers 818, thank you so much for joining. The whole Dodgers roster is going to be in the All-Star game. Yeah, no doubt. It's a very good roster.
That'd certainly be something.
It would be. Greg Bacon, thank you so much for joining. I don't think Kersh would sign a contract if he didn't honestly feel he could pitch good. I would agree with that. Normally, like Yamamoto. Okay, we're talking here back and forth. And I think I blocked the one person that is frustrating everybody. And so I think we went on from there, and Mike has done a wonderful job moderating this as well. Okay, and we've already read that comment. So let's go down the line here. Kershaw was good in 2020, says Yang Yi Yang. Thank you so much for joining. When he pitched short season in 2024 will be likely short season for him as well. And Hep C says Kershaw probably retires if he goes 5 innings, gives up 4 runs. Norm Lee. Okay, Larry, let's read this one. Kershaw is a team player. He'll win some games, and if he's not a top 3 starter, we'll find a way to be put on the IL for the playoffs. Yep, Kershaw definitely is a team player. Kershaw should take the pressure off the hook from resigning and him going to Texas and riding into the sunset. That's from Denard. Of course, Denard is from Texas, right? Normally, I think 2025 for me looks more promising for a title because Ohtani and May and Gonsolin will be back on the bump. Moose 1032, thank you so much for joining. Talent has to come above seniority. I would agree with that. We've been kind of saying that. Hey, and if Kershaw is one of the best, it's the best option, then throw him out there. Larry Parcher says, I trust Dave Roberts to know how much he needs for a World Series victory and put his best team on the field. I would hope that would be the case. Hep C, I think they win this year. Ohtani is going to go crazy. With all the protection around him, this will be scary for the league. A hungry Ohtani, yes. Mike says, couldn't agree more, Norm. Dodgers fans are spoiled and sometimes have unrealistic expectations. It is very hard to win a championship. I think Doug McCain has this hit on the head. You can't look at it necessarily, hey, they have to win this year. I think you have to say with this era, they need to win 1 or 2 championships. I think that's the way to look at it.
Yeah, and I would picture the best opportunity to win in this era as the next couple of seasons, well, these guys are at their prime. While you still have Freddie Freeman, I think this is the best opportunity to win during this era of Dodgers baseball, which means maximizing in 2024 and 2025 and 2026. Winning a championship is so necessary because later down the line, it could be more difficult to win a championship. I think now is the golden opportunity. Take advantage of it and do whatever you can to maximize the opportunities and give yourself the best chance to win a World Series.
Hep C, baseball is a team sport, but a guy like Ohtani changes everything for this lineup. All it takes is that special play. Yeah, because it just moves everybody back to where they should be and makes everybody around him better, no doubt. All it takes is that special player, and Ohtani is that. He will own October and be that spark to ignite everyone. Benji, thanks so much for joining. Benji, y'all make a great point. There is a happy medium. Plus, we got a lefty. Harley, thank you so much for joining, Harley. I love it when Harley joins. Harley is an old professional baseball player, and you talk about a guy who knows his baseball. I hope they don't just sign an old veteran just to get an old tired arm when you have so many down on the farm that are ready. I think they signed Paxton because he fits a need that they didn't feel like they had. Would you agree, Austin?
Yeah, they didn't have a lefty starter that would have been ready to go in the big leagues right now. You could argue that Yarbrough could fill in to that role, but I think he fits better as more of a swing man, that long relief, fill-in type start. James Paxton fills in a gap that the Dodgers lacked, and I think the tools that he has, the pitches that he has, the Dodgers can help maximize the potential of James Paxton as he draws close to the end of his big league career.
This is from Norm. Wouldn't Stanek be a reasonable bullpen piece? What's your opinions on that?
Yeah, Ryan Stanek. I haven't really looked a whole lot into that, so I'd be most interested, especially with a lot of these bullpen pieces. The thing that I'm looking at right now, and I know, again, you can't use this matchup quite as well as you normally would, but it is looking at some of those splits to get left-handed hitters out. Because if you look at this Dodgers bullpen, one thing that you're going to identify is they have a lot of guys who can get right-handed hitters out, not as many guys who can get left-handed hitters out. So with looking at Ryan Stanek, he has been a pretty good, pretty solid piece last season. There are some concerns. You look at some of the underlying numbers, FIP and XFIP. They weren't too terribly outstanding.
Dude, how do you know this about every single player in baseball, by the way? I mean, somebody just brings up a name, and you're like an encyclopedia. You know every single stat about every player in Major League Baseball. How do you do that?
Well, there is some good tools that I get to take advantage of. So I was kind of looking on the web right now to try to look at some of the tools. I know who he is. He is a guy who I believe has pitched quite a bit for the Houston Astros. So I don't know if you want to go after an arm like that. And just looking at some of the numbers that he has against left-handed pitching, it doesn't blow me out of the water. He was a little bit better against lefties last year, but he had a 5.45 expected FIP against left-handed pitching, left-handed hitters last season. So I don't know if that is the best use of resources, and then combine that with, does he fit best with the clubhouse? So Ryan Stanek, I think he's an interesting arm to look at. I don't think he is the best option that the Dodgers could pursue. I think they'd rather go for a Ryan Brazier or trade for a left-handed reliever like a Tanner Scott, AJ Puck, Andrew Nardi, that type of role.
Moose 1032, our younger pitching prospects will get a chance to pitch. Paxton has pitched a total of 25 games. That's kind of what we're talking about. You get a Glass now, you get a Paxton, you have Walker Buehler who's hurt, Kershaw, if you resign him, he's been hurt, that kind of thing. Dustin May, if he makes. So you have all these guys that are very talented, but yes, injury prone. I honestly think that is the game plan for the organization for these young guys. You talk about they have to figure out how to get these guys in. I think they went and got guys that they figure are going to be on the shelf for periods of time or not give you a million amount of innings. And that's actually what they've wanted, because that is the role that they're giving these young guys. I really think that's the case. Or do I have my tinfoil hat on here?
Well, I think the main reason why they got these guys has to do with the upside play that each one of these pitchers have. So I think they were looking for upside, and then with that, in order to keep these guys healthy, I think they can supplement some of the innings that they are going to give up, because you need to do whatever you can to keep these guys healthy, with some of the younger guys calling up and going with stretches where these younger guys are able to fill in and provide innings. Emmett Sheehan probably has a role early in the season, especially if you want to delay the start of Walker Buehler. Then it comes to, okay, how can we find innings at the big league level for Gavin Stone, Nick Frasso, Landon Knack? I think there are going to be opportunities. The Dodgers are going to have to be strategic about these opportunities in order to maximize the potential that each one of these guys have.
Well, my Dodger dog is wanting to join the show again. Yeah, Benji says, Casey, Austin is great. I totally agree with that. Austin is absolutely a rock star in this show. Benji, let's see. Actually, we have a question from Denard. Are the Dodgers done making moves? They will make more moves. Now, will they be the splashy moves like going and getting Glass now? Probably. I think they will sign. I think that what they have left, I think they're going to sign Kershaw, sign Brazier. Then I think they'll sign some smaller moves, like to fill out maybe some pitching depth at the minor league level with some veterans, but I think that'll be pretty much it. What do you think, Austin?
Yeah, I think the Dodgers, if they're going to make a move, I think it's going to be addressing the bullpen. I think if you look at the lineup, I think the lineup is pretty much all set, and I think they're comfortable with the lineup. As it is currently constructed, they do have a little bit of depth. They do have Hunter Fiducia as catcher. They do have Miguel Vargas, who can fill in with the infield. Yep. They do have Andy Pages, who can fill in the outfield on the 40-man. With the pitching, starting rotation, I think, is just about all set, unless an opportunity arises that they just can't afford to pass on. I don't see that as very likely. So I think the one area that they can and probably would address would be a bullpen piece, whether that is Ryan Brazier, whether that is some other arm, or you could see them, if they see that they have too much pitching depth and they want to make sure they take advantage of the value of some of these pitching arms. I think there is a small but possibility that they could trade one of these guys that they have that is part of the logjam at AAA and potentially move that for more of another type of prospect, like a Michael Busch type trade. Mm-hmm. I think that is an option that the Dodgers could pursue, but I don't think you're going to see the flashy Jesus Luzardo, Tanner Scott dual type trade. I think that
the only
was
one
a great
left to
idea.
be Class A. Is that going to happen? Do you want that to happen?
I don't think that is going to happen, because I don't think the Dodgers are going to be willing to give up the prospect capital for a relief pitcher for whatever that is. They weren't willing to sign Josh Hader to long-term. They weren't even willing to go after Robert Stevenson on his 3-year, $33 million deal that he got with the Angels. I don't think they're going to give up the prospect haul that Cleveland is going to require to get an Emmanuel Clase. I think they're going to look for other avenues where it might not cost as much, or they might look for different avenues to address the bullpen, because the bullpen is one area that you can address at the trade deadline, and it is one of the areas where you can find hidden gems easier than what you can at other positions.
The Dodgers are the model for that, no doubt. I have said time and time again, the Dodgers have a logjam. I wish they had went the trade route instead of the free agency route to maximize the value of these guys. Having said that, I don't want to make a prospect dump for a relief pitcher. I just can't get on the Emmanuel Clase thing. I can't do it. What's my deal here, Austin? Why am I not on it?
Yeah,
why would I want to go give away all these guys for Jesus Luzardo, which I was totally for, but I just have no ambition whatsoever to go get Clase. Why am I feeling that way? Explain that.
I think it has to do with the potential. One, Jesus Luzardo would have provided good, solid insurance to this rotation, which I think is something that is desperately needed. He had years of control. I think starting pitchers are a much more valuable piece than a bullpen is to major league front offices. I think he would have been a good, solid investment for the Dodgers to make in their prospects, to where he would have provided insurance for 2024. And then if you had too much pitching depth, you can use that to get some return back on your investment of your prospects. I think if you trade for Emmanuel Clase, you're trading for a good, solid closer. Relievers are more volatile, and so there is some concern with that. And I don't think the Dodgers would trade Emmanuel Clase, make a return on their investment. I think if you go out and get a Clase, I think you'd be getting a good, solid closer, and maybe that's the piece that the Dodgers need. But I don't know if that is the best use of prospect resources as far as getting the most value in return that you can for your prospects. I think that is the big distinction between using your prospects to get a starting pitcher, which is very valuable and it has a high dollar amount attached to them, versus trading them for a relief pitching, which you can find for fairly cheap, where you can develop guys a little bit easier than developing a starting pitcher.
And it is the one spot, as Hep says, we've said this several different times, that is the one spot where you can find diamonds in the rough. You can shop at the Five and Dime store and get a guy like Ryan Brazier, Chris Martin, Evan Phillips, Yency Almonte, that are every bit as good as the high-priced guys, or better. That is the one position you can actually do that at, I think.
Yeah, and I think a good example of this, and this isn't Dodgers related, this is more Tigers related, but a guy by the name of Tyler Holton. Anybody really ever heard of Tyler Holton before? He was one of the best.
I know you have, because you know every single human being that's ever played in the major leagues, and their FIP, their ex-FIP.
All of those. I got it all in my mind. No, Tyler Holton, one of the best left-handed relief pitchers in the game of baseball this past season. The Tigers were able to pick him up for basically nothing. You can find diamonds in the rough, and you can find some of the best relief pitchers in the game through free agency because they're volatile, and you can work on developing them. And in the Dodgers pitching lab, which I think is the best pitching lab in the game of baseball, you can develop these guys better and more easily than what you can as far than turning a starting pitcher and turning him into something that he might not be. I think bullpen is easier to maximize in short stints the capability that they have over a long stint of a starting pitcher.
Hey, Harley, thank you so much for joining tonight. I greatly appreciate it. I love Harley's comments. We've been talking quite a bit in the comments on the regular videos. He has such wonderful baseball acumen. It's a long season and injuries happen, and the young guys just have to be ready when the call comes. They can't have the deer in the headlights syndrome when they get the call. A large part of becoming a professional baseball player is doing what James Outman did and taking advantage of the opportunities when you're given to them. And by the way, our moderator, Mike, has to go. Mike, thank you so much for everything you do to Dodgers Daily. You are so wonderful. And John Causey says, I'm with you on Clase trade Casey. He's not worth all the prospects. And Hepsy's talking about, what you were saying about the pen. So that's going to be the last comment. Final thoughts, Austin.
Yeah, I think with this, we talked a lot about James Paxton. We talked a lot about Clayton Kershaw. There's a lot to be talking about when the world of Dodgers baseball. I think we're all itching for pitchers and catchers to report. That will happen a week after Groundhog Day, one of my favorite holidays, Groundhog Day. February 9th is when pitchers and catchers report, and then spring training will start soon after that. And so Dodgers fans are going to be able to see Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, Teoscar Hernandez, and James Paxton, and all the great additions that the Dodgers had. That is incredibly exciting. It's very cool to see the Dodgers continue to make this the best offseason ever. It's just a privilege to be able to do this with the Dodgers Daily community. One last point I want to close out with. I want to give a huge shout out to Great Lakes Loons. They have a new manager for the 2024 season, Jair Fernandez. Yeah. Super excited about that.
What happened with Nava, do you know?
What was that?
Is Nava just moving on, or what's going on?
I have not heard as far as what Daniel Nava, as far as what
I want to bring that up because Nava is a superstar. I mean, this is Nava's decision not to manage because he is a superstar.
Daniel Nava is absolutely amazing in whatever career and whatever pursuit that he wants to have, he's going to have because he's an absolutely amazing guy. But Fernandez is going to get the opportunity to manage the Great Lakes Loons. I couldn't be more excited about that. April 5th is opening day for the Great Lakes Loons. I know Loons announced yesterday they're making a lot of improvements to their stadium, getting up to the Major League Baseball as far as requirements for minor league stadiums. They're making the appropriate adjustments. They're getting new lights. They're doing everything to add to that fantastic facility. And now they have a brand new manager that's going to be taking the reins for this 2024 season. I'm very excited to be able to interact, to watch him make an impression on these young, talented Dodgers prospects that will be coming up through the system. It's important to take into account all aspects of the organization at the major league level and at the minor league level to help make this Dodgers machine the best it possibly can be. Jair Fernandez, new manager for the 2024 Great Lakes Loons, is going to play an important part in the Dodgers system and the Dodgers machine that hopefully will lead to a 2024 Midwest League championship for the Great Lakes Loons, and more importantly, a 2024 World Series championship for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Tony Ordaz says they're going to win back-to-back championships.